voice in their subconscious mind. At any point in time you are doing such difficult jobs, challenging situations, you need to pat your back. Right? Because the question for us is, who is responsible for the world peace? And that is a question which we are going to research upon to find it out. Dr. Anjeka has given you some information in your brochure which is available. There are certain inputs in that. Probably I'm going to follow those too. At this moment it may not be required to refer it because there are lots of information which if I start reading it, you may not enjoy it. And I think this 45 minutes for us should be experiential for us, and we should reflect and we should also understand. I am in favor of Dr. David Cope's experiential learning model. Right? And you can make notes of this because all this information is available on the websites everywhere. Dr. David Cope's experiential learning model says that every person in this world has concrete experiences of whatever they do. But still, you find people say, hey, this is not my job. Why are you asking me to do this? Why every time I am involved into this? Who told you that I am the best person for this? And you find so forth because we want to raise an objection. The question is not whether we know or we don't know. The question is we don't want to understand sometimes. And as a result, we say that there is a concrete experience. So someone says, I don't like selling. But you sold an idea to your parents stating that, look, we need to go for a movie, I want to eat outside, I need extra money to buy an extra pair of denims. So you did a selling task and you did it with your friends beautifully. I don't train people, so I don't know how to train. That's not my job as a manager. But you trained a dog to say, shake hand. You played with the baby. And you also taught maths to your kid or maybe to the neighbor house kid and explained them, or you have taught to your friend who missed a class. Have you done it or not? I'm sure you can relate to these experiences. Yes? No? Am I audible? Yes. So this is where you find concrete experience. So we have everything. So today whatever I'm going to talk to you, trust me, it's in your hand. And I only expect you after 45 minutes to just open the hands and just receive it because it's already there with you. That's how the power of expression has to be. And that's what Dr. David Cope says, from concrete experiences, you need to move towards reflective observations. Services and individual programs. We focus on corporate solutions, business advisory solutions, learning and testing services are there. We have certified courses which we run for the whole year, and we have certain open programs which people nominate themselves based on their requirements. So I'm not going, but this is our structure of our business. And quickly we move on to a very simple one, I think, because this is one interesting part in Africa I learned, where I was a Vice Chancellor with King's University College. And before every meeting we used to pray. Before enjoying the meal together for any function, we all used to pray. So I learned, and I think this is the first important line which I want to say here is that let peace be there to every person in their house, whosoever is sitting in this room. That's most important. And the second point which I want to make is that we are the messengers of God. Trust me, I would not like to market Dr. Angelica because she is sitting here, or Dr. Maser, whom I just got connected and he invited me here. But these are messengers of God for me because they are helping me out to further my experience. And you need people around you to your right and left. But when the message comes to you, you need to understand that message. At times, we do not understand that message. So sometimes good opportunity coming to us, we neglect it, reject it, or accept it, or regret it later on, whatever it may be. But I think I always say people are messengers of God, and we need to identify that, and they are messengers of peace. So I have a very simple prayer in my life, and I say to God that I will have the goodness in me and I will have the evil in me. It cannot be separated from any individual. But yes, it's very important that if there is any person who is having the goodness, I should get attracted and connect with that immediately. And if someone demonstrates evilness, even in their thoughts, please take me away. And I think he honors the prayers and he connects me with all those people around me who think that their life has to move on and further the cause of professionalism. So that's how it is. So in a very simplistic way, I pray to Lord that we do the best job today. How many of us are searching for peace? We all. How many of us like chocolate cake? They will stand up. They will stand up. Yes. Okay, thank you. How many of you people like vanilla ice cream? Okay, that's nice. How many of you people like, I would say, apricots? Apricots? Okay. How many of you people like almonds? Good. How many of you like action movie thrillers? Hey, lots of films. Great. How many would like to go to a place like the island we went today, which is very peaceful, cool, calm? How many of you would like to visit such places in future? Please stand up. Yes, that's nice. You would notice, and in fact if I ask you colors also, how many would like pink in this room? How many like white? Most of the men will get up for white, blue and greys. It will happen. But nonetheless, you would notice that everyone was not raising their hand for all the questions, except Dr. Mesa. But everyone was not raising their hands. What is the reason? Aren't we different? Aren't we all different? We all have different unique tastes and preferences in life, right? And now multiply this, like you used to see many years back on the websites that there are different areas of interest. And we used to click at that point in time, business, media, games, politics, history, geography. That time I used to see some network and the website like that, which I don't see today. But there's so much of interest that are coming up. So we are so different. And if I cannot sleep in peace with the person on the same bed, how will two nations have peace together? If I cannot have peace in the society where I stay with my neighbor, how do I expect to have peace between two nations? If I am not going to be at peace when I find that one of my closest colleagues got promoted and I wasn't, and I'm totally upset about the decision of the organization, how will I be at peace? It's difficult, right? Moment we find that my colleague got a raise of 15% and I got 12.5%, and the gap is just few dollars, we still get upset. Why there is a gap? And not with experienced people like you, I would say even with the graduating students who join for the first job, and in India we find that some companies make differentiation in terms of salaries, keeping in mind from which school they graduated. And when they come to know, they get upset. Motivation goes down. How sensitive we are. Our motivation can go down in 6 seconds. Our peace can be disturbed in 6 seconds by anyone. Just now, if you're going to have a thought in mind, hey, did you carry your mobile with you or did you leave it in the room? Was it in the cafeteria down? Do you think you're going to be connected with me? Because you're going to think about your mobile. We are fed well, we had a good lunch, we also had some snacks, but suppose if we were hungry, and would you be connected? No. This is a regular dose every day. Very difficult to identify how many of us are searching for peace, I think, till the last breath of our life. If I'm going to ask you, how many breaths have you taken since morning? Do you remember them? No. Yes? No? You can't count them. But if we start running right now, like we saw a group of Navy officers running, I'm sure after 5 minutes we will be looking forward and understanding what life and what breath means actually. So it's like something which is absent in our life, then we understand the relevance of it. So if this room is going to be dark, will there be absence of light? If there is no sound in this room, and I would say absence of sound is stillness of mind. Is that so? That means absence of conflict is going to be peace or not? So can I just say that peace means absence of conflict? That's it. Are you following me? So is that going to be absence of conflict? But then this conflict is so high at any point in time that sometimes there is no conflict, but this doesn't stop at all. How do we stop this? Because if I'm not at peace, I will not make other people to live at peace. I used to tell my mom that you're the epicenter of peace at home. If you're happy, everyone is happy. Otherwise, no one is happy. How important and relevant it is even. So I'm going to take you from internal family to society, different levels, because peace has to be there. You are happy at home, but the moment you travel outside and you start maneuvering with traffic, your peace is disturbed and you're completely drained by the time you reach office, and you say something to someone and your day is gone. So you're not at peace. So this will continue. So probably if we are going to say that by the end of the session, we will know what are the capsules available for peace, bio peace. So we can have that daily. No, not possible. So we'll have to really search out answers for that. What does that actually mean for us? Many years back, I'm talking about centuries and centuries and centuries back, people had conflict, and even at that point in time. But the question was that how do I show strength? What would be the show of strength? So use the hands and you fight with people, because that was the only way to show the strength. But slowly, gradually, as the time progressed, the brain got developed and they said, no, not the show of strength. Let's not use just hands and legs or verbiage, that is verbal abuse, but let's make some kind of items where we can hit someone there. So what were those? So we had sticks, pointed sticks, and that was used to fight with others. Wooden sticks, but yes, that was very useful for them, even for self-defense, because people were living in forest areas at that point in time. It was not so civilized, and you don't find a concrete jungle like you see in Manila and Indian various metro places. So sticks were available, and they could save themselves from the wild animals. At the same time, they could fight with each other, again to show strength. But this doesn't work again as the cycle progresses, human race is progressing, so you find one another area where we need to do it. So something metallic has to come. So you have the gun with you, you have the bullets with you, and that started working. You started wearing some protective shields so that you can protect yourself. So you had swords, so metal came into it, right? If metal was not working out well, then the guns came out. And as soon as the guns are not going to be used now, so we find the challenge of biological warfare, we find the challenge of nuclear warfare, we find that countries are communicating with each other. I can press the atomic button, knowing the facts, what has happened in the past in the world. And it was difficult for the countries to get up from those situations. But still we pose that threat to one country, but that threat goes to a lot of countries all around the world. So I'm talking about a conflict from hands to wooden sticks to swords and going to guns, and we saw a lot of ammunitions today, right? And plus we're talking about the biological warfare and nuclear warfare. What has changed? What has changed? I'm so upset and I'm so displeased with the entire system of mankind that we have grown up in all these areas, but the number of people who are going to actually talk about peace are much lesser. The number of people talking about destructions are much higher. Your mind can be destructive, it can also be constructive. If 7 billion people on this earth are there, which I was reading on the website, I found it's gone to 7.5 by November. But even if I take 7 billion people on the face of this earth, so if I say 1% of that population, that 70 million is going to be thinking about peace, do I say that they continuously keep on chanting and continuously keep on praying for peace all across the world? That's their only job, to control 7 billion people. The 80-20 rule applies everywhere, which I'm sure somewhere or the other you would have read. The 80-20 rule, that 20% of the people do the job and 80% do it because they are occupied, because this 20% are producing that important work for the rest of the team in the organization. 22 people playing the football match, but thousands are watching it, right? The 80-20 rule works. So actors and observers. So are you the actor to work for peace, wherever you are right now? Or are you the observer to think about how to get peace? I hope you've started making some notes behind here and grow this further. And how do we grow this? We write the word peace and we start thinking about countries, organizations, self, family, society, whatever you want, and this can grow further. Are you getting it? Yeah. So you can make notes of your points, and I'm sure it will be interesting for me maybe today, day after, whenever we get time, just to have a look on your sheet of paper as to where do you think you can contribute, even if you contribute that 0.0001%, and in whichever position, in whichever place you are, I think the conference becomes a great success. Because ultimately after every conference I see there are some action plans to be presented. And it's important because these are all documented things, goes on websites of AUSN also to promote and communicate such an important activity and agenda which we are doing. And why are we targeting the youth? Because they are the future of the country. And that's how it works out. So the question comes up is that if I'm going to talk about peace, and if you look at the experiences of destruction, how it has worked out, one common thing which comes to me in my thought process is the software of mind does not change. The software of mind does not change. There was an ad in one of the Indian television just a few days back I saw that there were 4 glasses of juices kept and the child was told to pick up one. And I'm going to ask you also, 4 glasses of juices in front of you, just visualize it right now. They are kept in front of you, but all 4 are not completely full. In some glass it is 25% juice, in some glass it is 40%, in some glass it is 80%, and in some glass it is 95% juice. Which one will you pick up? Which one will you pick up? Which one will you pick up? Can I hear it loudly?
Your favorite.
Let it be, yes, it's your favorite juice. But they are in 4 different quantities, in 4 glasses. Which one will you pick up? The one which is full, right?
Yes.
Not the less one.
Why not? Why would you pick the full one?
Why?
Why would you pick the full one? Then others don't have a full one.
Okay, others don't have the full one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the, I'm happy Prof has asked us that important question, but that is the thought process we are talking about now.
Yeah.
So, first our attempt is to pick up the full one.
No, it's not.
Right? No.
No.
Prof is the ambassador of peace, and we are yet to reach that level. But the question is, a general human being is going to pick up something which is going to be full, which they would like to have it.
Can
And
I?
as a result,
Well, I don't think a general human being will. For example, in most cultures, a mother will always give her children the full ones and take the smaller one.
absolutely.
And that's for most of the world.
That's right.
Yes?
You're
So the
absolutely right.
general question is, you will not take the full one first.
That's right.
But if ourselves, if we are not mother, we are single, maybe we get a full by from ourselves. Right?
It's just a human nature, I would say, tendency of people to think about it. But this is what we've been doing it since the childhood days. This is how we grown up actually, to ask for more, to pull more. But what happens is that when we don't get that more in life, we are not at peace. That is the problem. Now, if I want to go back to Prof's logic, that why can't I redistribute and make all four equal, because those are the fundamental rights that we all can have equal quantum of choose. But we need that kind of mentality of people around who starts thinking that way. And the moment you start thinking that in a society, what would happen? Obviously, there will be a move towards peace. But that software of mind has to change. If that software of mind doesn't change, then it becomes a challenge. So how does UN defines peace for us? If you start looking at the topic. Trust me, because of this topic, I have read so much, which I did not do it in the last 47 years of my life. I'm introduced to this topic at the age of 47. But I'm happy that the conference theme talks about youth as a change agent, right? And I think we have all responsibility towards those youth because they are going to be the future. And that's how we start working it out very well. And I saw that the definition given by United Nations says that it's a set of values, attitudes, modes, behavior, ways of life that reject violence and prevent conflict by tackling their root causes to solve problems through dialogues and negotiation. For me, certain words were very important, like we reject violence 100%. And we have the South African history of Dr. Nelson Mandela, we have Mahatma Gandhi's history available which talks about it, and Abu Iwab, the university president of University of the Philippines, whose story also I have put up in the paper for you to read, is also talking about the similar messages. So we have missionaries, such missionaries available. But tell me, will it take another 50 years or 100 years to bring the similar kind of missionaries back to a country? Will there be never another Dr. Nelson Mandela? Will there be no another Mother Teresa? Will there be no other Mahatma Gandhi? Or Gautam Buddha? Or Dr. Arora in Philippines? Has the world stopped there? And that is what we need to think. And that is where we need to find out, read those ideologies, philosophies, spirituality, and understand where we are going. So for me, it's rejecting violence. The major challenge with the world is that we don't talk about the root cause. And that's why we never been able to solve any conflict. And that's why we say dialogue and negotiations are important. And those dialogues and negotiations have to be win-win. That means I'm saying pain of a situation which you don't like at all. Any situations you take in from this matrix here, you don't like it. It's a pain for you. So because it is a pain, what will you do? What will you do if that's a pain? You will avoid it. Pleasure of avoiding it. The doctor says, take the medicine for 5 days. 3 times a day. You take it for 2 days. And 3rd day, you forget about the medicine. Has it happened with you? Anytime? Everyone in the world does that. I'm sure paying money to the gym guys and then for the entire year and not going to the gym at all. Because the pain is that if you go and do the exercise, your body pains. And the pleasure of avoiding that pain is, let me sleep for some more time. And we stop there. And trust me, we remain displeased. We know about it, but we start talking about a lot of other things which would give us pleasure. And we avoid the main story. So here is that the root cause is not attacked. So what is the root cause? What do we do then? That means I would say, let me also find out pain of avoiding it. If I avoid that situation, what is the pain I'm going to get? That's essential. So I start looking at pain of avoiding it. So if I avoid the exercise, what would happen? I'll bloat and then I will buy more products of which we have seen yesterday, nutrition, right? And we start using it. You say that first I was this way, I was tired, bored, but now I'm active by all this and I'm slimmer, right? So it's very essential. What is the pain of avoiding if you increase your weight? So you start looking, you will not look good, your clothes are not going to fit, so you start having those challenges. But at the same time, if you're going to say pleasure of doing it, makes sense? So pleasure of exercise, you become fit, you can smile and you will have all the friends around you, you look good, you can wear the latest trendy clothes, attire. So if you see this matrix, we do half of it and we stop there. What was the half? Pain of doing a job, pleasure of avoiding the job, and we stop there. But what do we want you to do now? If you want to go to the root cause, pain of avoiding it and pleasure of doing it. If you do this 360-degree analysis for any situation, trust me, you will find a win-win approach with people. Because till the time you don't give, you will never get it. It's very easy to say forgive and forget. But it is very difficult to do it in life, to be very honest. I'm sure we have experienced that many times, right? Through our childhood days and even in corporate life and even in future we'll see. But it is important to give because the joy is in giving. And it is not necessary the joy in giving is only for doing charity jobs. No, I'm just not talking about that. I'm not just talking about the social cause. I'm not talking about just giving donations for a flood relief or to Red Cross and then you forget about it. No, it's like moving one step ahead towards that. At the same time, so you can do a lot of things for people around you rather than looking at bigger things. Steps are smaller, but they make you bigger by going step by step. As a result, besides the peace, UNICEF says that there should be a peace education. That has to work out. And major theme of the conference, like we heard yesterday at University of Pasig also was on eradication of poverty. That's required and we found a lot of wonderful thoughts of Dr. April, right, talking about how projects should be carried forward. And UNICEF says that we refer to this as a process of promoting knowledge, skills, attitudes, values that are needed to bring about a behavioral change that will enable children, youth, adults to prevent conflict and violence. But that has to start from their childhood days. And that reminds me of a very interesting story from Dr. Stephen Covey's simple book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, if you have read it. And it says that, look, when 2 girls were crying, right, the younger one was crying and the elder one was not allowing the younger one to play with the doll. The author says that he scolded the elder daughter and picked up the doll from the elder one and gave it to the younger daughter. Now the younger daughter is happy and the elder one is upset because her doll is taken away. So one child knows that I can throw such tantrums, disturb the peace of someone, but I would get something in return. I know where to complain. And what does the elder one learns? I need to hide the things. I will not play in front of her. I will not tell her that this is available. I will not share. So you see people with lots of properties, huge amount of wealth, and you find two brothers fighting for that wealth. In every country there will be stories like this. So in the same family you find challenges that are coming up. So if we say that we will train people and it will work out, it's not. We have to start training from the childhood days, and first thing is the joy of sharing, the joy of giving. That's very essential. Like we say in India, in our building, we see there are some days we collect all the toys, whichever toys are not played by the kids, and we go and give it to certain other kids who do not have it. But at the same time, which your kid is not playing, that's fine, but you can still buy the new one and still give it. That's a choice, you have it in your hand, whichever you want to exercise it, but life has to progress. Both overt and structural, to resolve conflict peacefully, to create the conditions conducive to peace, whether at an intrapersonal level, national or international level. And trust me, I can't solve international if my intrapersonal conflict exists, if I'm not at peace. I can't solve national if I'm not at peace. I can't solve between intergroup two people if I'm not at peace. So the idea is that it starts from self. It starts from you. You are responsible for your peace. No one else. It's not going to work out. Suppose tomorrow United Nations says that there's too many policies sold by insurance companies nowadays. They are coming with creative products. So why not United Nations also start selling a policy? And they come with an insurance by saying that, look, if you take the insurance policy of United Nations, we promise you that there will be no war for the next 300, 200, 500 years. Will the policy sell? Will the country buy those policies? Why not, right? They would buy the policies. Why? Now, if I buy those policies and I know that there is not going to be war, then obviously my defense expenditure is going to go down. The moment my defense expenditure goes down, I'm going to spend a lot of money on different activities which are there. Which if I want to list it out, here. In different areas you can invest your money and you will find the economy becoming better. So if I'm spending 50% on disarmament and 50% I'm spending on the economy, I would start doing 1/3 on defense and 2/3 on certain important activities. Have you seen this anywhere in the past? Very nice. I like it. You remember? So these are different areas which has been talked about, sustainable goals. Dr. April also talked about it. And you would notice that there is so much to do. And it is not just the responsibility of United Nations, UNICEF, Red Cross Society or any other societies like that, but unless and until we all support them, that means any kind of policies made by them, we need to see that we honor those. At the same time, you would find that those policies which are made, the countries have to execute it in different areas. If that work is not carried out, then these goals will never be achieved. So am I trying to say that these 17 goals should be aligned with my economic, social, cultural, political, technological, legal goals of an organization, of a country? The answer is yes. Otherwise it doesn't work out. There will be no alignment, we will walk in different directions and we will not be able to achieve it. And the data of the country would not be reflecting happiness and peace and prosperity. So this is where two definitions which I brought in front of you of United Nations of Culture of Peace, and I talked about UNICEF in front of you. Are you with me on this too? Quickly, I present to you some of the examples which I saw from the UNICEF website, and trust me, I was so unhappy about it. And I felt like, thank you God, you give so much, and sometimes we don't value it. If this lady has to walk and spend almost 15,000 reals, right, to get her checkups done during pregnancy. It's impossible for her because she cannot earn that money even in a month, even for a year. And if the rainy seasons are there, probably she will not be able to reach also. So when the question was asked that why don't you go for prenatal care, and which should be done at least 4 times during the entire pregnancy, the answer was that I need to take care of my house, I need to earn, there is no time to do this. Now imagine such a difficult situation that they need to identify from where they would be able to find out a two-wheeler to reach such a large distance and get the prenatal care done. We are blessed we do not stay in places like this, but this is where I think those 17 goals which we are talking about need to reach to every nook and corner of the place. Many times I salute Philippines also because I see so many islands here, and I'm sure every island requires equal amount of distribution of development, but some would be left behind, some would be ahead. So process has to work out everywhere. These are all latest situations of August, September and October 2016 on the UNICEF website, and they have given information to the world about it. And they talked about a bombing happening in one of the areas, and the school children have witnessed that, and the moment they witnessed it, imagine they can't go to the school because they find that their friends are no more. But parents, teachers, everyone has gathered around to see that the school restarts again and starts functioning for the kids. Here's another lady from Nigeria where she found that everything of her is destroyed. She doesn't have anything available with us, and she works with the UNICEF supported place where she is teaching the kids, because these kids have also lost their parents. So it's a community school where she is helping them out, but she is getting peace there. Another case from Burma that we talk about, where she is also investing time with the kids who have lost their parents and telling them the stories of life, how to handle difficult situations. What she's good at, she's doing that there. International Girl Child Day we talk about, and there was an example given from South Africa where the company itself is now promoting this object very well and training the girl child. So you find that they are given more interest areas to cover in science, technology, engineering and management, right? And even the fees is subsidized for them. I was very happy to see, though, when we think about Iraq, we only think about war. But it was said on the website that in 2015, UNICEF declared that Iraq is not having any kind of polio diseases. But protection has still to be maintained. And they took out the name of the country from the list. So I'm sure the countries like this who are not at peace and having so much of difficult situation are also working towards such goals. Again, we look at the ambassador here in Bhutan, Amir Khan, one of our well-known film star of India, has also been working it out hard, because it says, the data says that 98% of the people have good food to eat, but still 88% of the kids are suffering from malnutrition. My hairs are raising right now when I'm talking about all this to you, and I was really upset when I read it, because sometimes I find when I talk to my students also in India, they try to say, I want a company which does not work on Saturdays and Sundays. I want a 5-day week. I want this much salary. I want my office to be like this. I want my phone to be like this. And I ask them only 2-3 questions. When I show them situations like this, you have everything with you. And think about those soldiers who are in extreme climate of hot or cold, and they stand there at a very small salary and protect the country also. What is their motivation? But before you start your career, you start putting ifs and buts and rules and regulations for your success without even trying this. life is not so simple. I'm sure a lot of experienced people sitting here would say that there are lots of complexities, and if we are going to say that yes, if my kid was small now, once they become big, so we will be at peace, no, complexities, magnitudes and intensity of problems will change. And as a result, you find that if there are so many situations happening all around us, and if we are not one among them right now, let's touch wood and let's praise the Lord for that we are definitely in a good, better situation, and give us that much strength that we can become the messengers of peace for someone. I think that's a very important action which we should be able to take. Are you with me on this? I communicate a very simplistic model which we say that you're responsible for the peace. Because even if I'm going to talk about Sweden and say that they have not fought war for the last 200 years and they are the most developed country, but when I will enter Sweden, when I will enter USA, I'll enter Canada, right, most developed countries also, I will still find conflicts in the society. The recent presidential elections coverage that's happening throughout in CNN, BBC for USA, I'm sure you see a lot of conflicts also there, right? So let that be there. We will not say that we want a complete conflict-free society. Because if there is no conflict, there is no creativity. But putting your point across without hurting someone is necessary. And hence we talk about our own habits, the results that we can get from our habits, and the expectation that we have from the environment. If our expectations are going to be too much, too large, then obviously we will not be able to work it out. And hence, if I show you areas of your excellence, where you will find peace now. I asked you how many are searching for peace. You were thinking to raise your hand or not to raise your hand. But if I'm going to tell you all these areas right now in front of you, health, personal, professional, financial, spiritual, family, social. If I'm going to ask you about your goals, have you thought about all your goals to achieve in these 8 areas? Are you able to show me a written document which says that this is how I'm going to chart my course of life for the future, for the next 10 years? In fact, to be very honest, due to paucity of time, I've not taken an exercise. I'm actually crossing now 45 minutes. But if I'm going to ask you to write your goals, I can promise you, you can give me something on financial, you can give me on family, you can talk about something about your professional, 3 areas very important. Some of you will also talk about social, but none of you will talk about health, except one who is selling health. I can promise you, and I'm very confident about that even for this room, without doing that exercise. Because these are the areas only we think about. But imagine these 8 areas, and if you start writing down 3 goals in each area to work out, I promise you that even 12 months are less for you and 365 days are less for you. You will not have time to even think about it. But the moment I achieve one of the small steps for this, what would happen? You feel nice? You feel elevated? So I need to identify those moments in life which is going to elevate me. Not make me sit and start thinking why my life is like this. Why others can get it and I can't. So we start looking out from those areas. So different areas in which you can set up your goals will work out. So these all areas can come up from peace. From where do you find peace? You want to find peace by reading spiritual books? I do that. Do you love to listen to music? I love that. Do you have identified 10 songs which motivate you a lot? And you listen to them at least once a day? Maybe one song also? I do that. I'm only going to tell you those things which I'm personally doing it and I feel comfortable about it. Something which I have not tried, I won't tell you that at all. And that's how I share it with you. I try it on me. If it works, I sell it ahead. You getting it? That's the best practice of life. So when we start looking at different areas of excellence, an expectation, and that expectation comes up with your own attitude. What is the kind of behavior you display towards a particular situation? That's equally important. You're jealous of someone's success, or you are finding it out how you can be better or you can be like them. So who is your role model? With whom you would like to work? And that's how you can display your attitude well. And that's only possible when you are in a culture that protects professionalism, that communicates about your personal excellence, that gives you an opportunity to take initiatives, gives you opportunity, talks about how enterprising you can be, how proactive you can be, right? How you can demonstrate accountability, how you can take ownership, and how you can take initiatives. And if you want to take all this, you will have to cross this line and come here. But if you don't cross this line, then you will be like a pendulum, right, restless throughout. Because you don't want to try new things to work out here. Are you getting in this? And that's how we say a reach model works out, because your habits will decide the results. But down beneath, we see the expectation, the attitude, and most important, the culture around in your society, right, in your organization, in your social environment, the place you stay, in your family, everywhere. It works a lot, because you need to reach towards your goals. That's how I look at, in a small and sweet way, talking about that if there has to be peace in this world, then obviously it's important that that peace starts from me. And I would like to close this with a very interesting story, right? And 2 points of information which I would like to give you in the last 5 minutes to conclude this. I have given you one interesting story here, which is talking about on page 9. I took it from one of the Buddhist websites of Daisaku Aikeria. Right? And there is a title saying refusing to hate. I am not reading this story. I want you to read this post today's session, or maybe tomorrow whenever you get time, because that's the idea of giving it to you. But when I read this story very carefully, I noticed that what happened in 1944, and trust me, what we saw today in the Corridor Island also, and the challenges that was faced by the Philippine population, right, and due to the Japanese execution that was done. Here they talk about a family, right, and the gentleman named Mr. Teodoro, right, who was not happy with the Japanese invasion, and the military was looking out for him, and his family was captured. His family was released after a lot of bruises on their body, and family, when I'm saying, I'm talking about 3 girls and 4 sons, and his old mother, with a lot of bruises. But the mother said that, look, even I don't want such invasion, and my life is not important. It's important is that you need to save the country. But nonetheless, it was very difficult. Mr. and Mrs. Teodoro died due to a lot of torture that was given to them, and their children were free. But years later, the story goes on, and we find that his son, Dr. Jose Abuiva, right, has worked in different capacities, even with the United Nations, studied internationally, studied at University of the Philippines, and was elected as the president of University of the Philippines in 1987. And he has worked in Japan as a United Nations representative for 8 years, staying in an enemy country. And he says that I'm the messenger of peace. So whatever I have seen it, but I would not like to remember that. Very difficult for a person to say that. Forgive and forget. So here you would find this story something which definitely motivates us, excites us, that there are good people around us. When they face difficult situations, a lot of learning comes from there. Please read that very carefully, and if you go to the same website, I'm sure you will get lots of inspirational stories which I've been reading it. And thanks Professor Nesser and Angelica. Because of you, I think I have been able to go through similar websites. I conclude my session with the last simple story which I would like to definitely talk about, and that's the essence of the session today. This has been taken from Dr. Joel Parker's video, The Power of Vision. He says that he went to one of the beach to write down his writings, regular writings of the day. But he was getting distracted by a person, a man who was dancing far and near the ocean. He wanted to find out what this person is all doing. So he started concentrating, but he could not. So he went to the person and asked him, "What are you trying to do here? I'm getting distracted." The young man looked at him, picked up something, and threw it into the ocean. That was a starfish. He says, there are so many starfish around. How can you make a difference? The young man paused, gave a smile, picked up another one, and threw the second starfish to the ocean, and said, it makes a difference to that one. Now what the young man did was that he was an actor in the universe and not an observer, like the author. The author was stunned, silent, and surprised. Vision without action is just going to be a dream. So we all have the vision for peace, but we don't take any action towards it, even in a small way, it's just going to be a dream. It's in your hand. Action without vision is just going to be passing the time because we don't know, we are clueless. But vision with action will make a lot of difference. I hope you enjoyed this session. Right, I'll be happy to answer if there are any queries from your side based on time availability as per the chairperson decides. Otherwise, we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have some time for questions or challenging questions. Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah. My idea is don't you think that the concept of peace is anthropocentric? I mean, it's mainly based on human interaction. So my idea is it should be widened in scope to include all the organisms, all the living things on the earth, because basically we're at the point, you showed the actions about climate change and everything, we're at the point where humans are basically waging war on every organism on earth. That's something that
You're right, because it covers so many things, and we need to look at all these issues carefully to understand. And I'm sure you'll appreciate the fact that even we all in this room cannot cover all the 17 points by one person. And hence you find different organizations, different institutions focusing on different activities. Now, quality education cannot come without standards in every country. So there are specific domain of people who are working towards it. What I've just tried to project is that in whichever field you are, you be the best, you excel into it, and you try to support people in that particular area. Yes, you may not be able to fulfill all the 8 areas of the individual, but you'll be able to fulfill one area. So if suppose you are a quality education expert, then you can provide education at the good quality, and that one area of that person you can fulfill in their both elements. But you can't fulfill family, finance, career, profession, and so forth. So that's how that alignment has to come. Even the governments are managed by people like you and me. We select those representatives. And as a result, those people need to have the acumen towards these goals look at it, because those are goals of the organization. If 30 to 50% of the population in the world is below poverty and so many people do not get their one meal a day, it's something really to be thought of. How much we waste of food on a daily basis. Because if you go through the websites, you will interestingly find there are some interesting charts where the world map is given and someone says that look, like from 1995 to 2016, just keep on putting your mouse across and you find how these situations have changed in poverty, in unemployment and things like that. And I find that African and Asian countries are one which are captured the most. So there's a lot of work to be done. And there's a lot of work which has already been done. So one person definitely cannot do it. So there are lots of goals, and through conferences like this, I think the sensitivity comes up and people will get motivated that they would work on specific areas which you can do. That's how I would look at it. So if Dr. April said yesterday that poverty has to go, then people should come to enterprising, become an enterprising character, and they should get good education. Then probably we can't pay them money, but we can give them education and give them vocational training so that they can start something on their own. So this is what I'm good at, I want to do that. But if I have to be a paramedical staff, I can't. But there is someone else who will do this job and go into difficult areas and situations and help people out. So drop by drop, I think everything will work out. That's how I would like to address this question.
Yes,
Yes, please.
Chris.
First of all, I would like to commend my very good friend and my roommate, Dr. Rajesh, for a very nice presentation. Can we give him a round of applause? I experienced a first-hand experience of his expertise in this developing a human capital, because on the first night when we were together in the same room, we walked almost 10 kilometers just to get our dinner. So, we walked to the mall, and the mall was closed. Yeah, and we were really hungry. Yeah. And then, Dr. Rajesh said, okay, let's walk. I have something in my mind. I want to reach that place. Okay, so we continued to walk, and it seems that we cannot imagine that the place is there. But in the bottom line, he said, see, I told you the place is here. But when we stopped at the stoplight and turned back, we couldn't even know if our walk is a success or a failure. That is why it is a conclusion that when there would be no concrete experience or you would not act into it, then you wouldn't know what the result will be. Yes, definitely. And one important reflection that I got from your presentation, sir, is something that gets little or less attention when it is not relevant, it does not come into our mind. For example, peace is a minor problem in the Philippines. For example, this is just for an example. We come to a thinking that we have also discussed that we have the priorities in life. We have social, health, personal, professional, etc. So it comes to our attention that we choose professional among other things or financial, but health is the most neglected one. So it comes to a time that we are focused onto some other things and we do not think about our health. But what if it fluctuates? What if one day we couldn't wake up? We couldn't stand from our beds. So we discard other things, and the only thing in our mind is our health. How can we restore that? So, what if one day, the Philippines, like what happened in World War II, will be bombed again? So, we discard other things again. And the only thing in our mind is peace. So, that is the most important expression or impression and reflection.
Appreciate, right? Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
In fact, I just want to add here, when we talk about health, in fact, in all the societies, and as Dr. Mason talked about, that the mother would give more to the kid and take the less one, I think this is where the challenge starts. because the kind of depletion that takes place in the body of the women after the delivery, right, and the kind of care that is required, and if that is not taken care at the right time, I'm sure we all imagine what are the difficult situations we face after 40, 50s and 60s. So I think we need a society where at that point in time it is said that this is important for their development and their growth, and that nutrition value that has to go, because she's one instrumental to take care of everyone in this world. And sometimes even that point gets neglected. And when you ask the lady after 40, 50 or 60, she says, I was busy, my son, taking care of you all. And trust me, that's displeasure moment again for a person like me also. Then how come we forgot to take care of her? Yes. Anything else, please? Yes, please.
Thank you very much for a good presentation.
Thank you.
Starting from the topic, it's already taken to my mind. This is possible of peace, and I feel already accused like really you were in my responsible of peace. But I think like you didn't quite emphasize on how we can deal with the situations whereby we find conflictual situation whereby if I decide to invest, like let's say the spiritual, for example, let's talk from an African perspective. There are some people in Africa who believe that we don't take children for polio or any vaccination, when we are born.
True.
We get, and then they say that we cannot do that. But at the end of the day, the children end up being affected by
Yes.
such and such.
Right.
Now, okay, as a youth who is going to deal with this, we didn't quite emphasize on how we can overcome such kind of obstacle that we can face, because it's spiritual, like that was their belief. But we know that it's good for the children to get such vaccines. And how do we do? Do we give up, or we find some other ways to convince them that how do we really?
Sure, very nice. First of all, I'd say continuing medical education programs are extremely important, and that's how you need to educate certain societies. My work in Ghana as a Vice Chancellor of King's University College, and I found that the basic needs which are required by an African population, and I'm talking about electricity, clean water, safety, transport, and good education, right? That itself is one of the area where the entire population is struggling. And that is where it becomes difficult for them to even think about any other issue beyond this. Because if your basic physiological needs are not met, you won't think about the rest of because those are luxuries for you then. That's one area. That is why creating that awareness is very important. And I also gave you a very simple technique, if you recall, and if you have made notes of it. Pain of going for a polio vaccination, pleasure of avoiding the polio vaccination, pain of avoiding the polio vaccination, and pleasure of getting the polio vaccination. Unless and until a person starts, because there are certain societies and cultures who says that these are not required at all. And that is where you need to convince them. So this is where I think a pain and pleasure chart which we discussed, any situation you take in life, I promise you, you will have the answers. You need to just sit quietly for 30 minutes, write it on a piece of paper, don't expect the solution, put that paper in your pocket and roam with that paper for next 1 week. As soon as the thoughts are coming in, start writing it down. And after a week, open that paper, read it carefully. I can promise you, solution is in your hand. It will work. Do it for one situation and see, and then send me an email that you did it for that. It will work. I hope that should be sufficient enough, and we can interact further after the session also. Is that okay with everyone? You
One
want
more
to ask
question? Thank you.
Please.
I have two questions actually. But first, thank you for the presentations. And
Thank you.
it's always Chris always point hits important things for us. Thank you. So my first question is my biggest concern about youngsters in Indonesia is pot smoking, because I'm a former smoker. It's really quite heavy, so I can. And in Indonesia, speaking in adolescents and teenagers mostly, the price of the tobacco, you can get like $1 for a package of tobacco, and it's easily affordable for the students, especially in junior high schools, senior high schools, etc. And the problem is, in their own perspective of view, if you don't smoke, you are not the cool guy. And everybody wants to be the cool guy. Everybody wants to climb the society. And stuff like that. And speaking of parents, parents sometimes just say, just ignore this. It's just cycle of life. You become teenagers and then adults. You may can smoke if you already earn your money and things like that. But the biggest problem is the smoke is not good. And smoke is damaging the one who is not good. So I want to look at the root of it, and the problem is in Indonesia, the price of tobacco is really cheap. Comparing to UK, it's like multiple 5 times difference. And as someone who emphasizes on that topic, as a former smoker, do we have to wait until my government increase the price of the tobacco, or how? Because if I talk to the youngsters, but I want to look cool, but because smoke is making the cool guy and something like that. And how do I find the most affordable solution for it? And that's the first one. And maybe I think once enough. Thank you.
A cigarette in my hand, I feel like a man. Right? Statutory warning that cigarette smoking is injurious not to your health, but also to the health of people around. A lot of awareness programs are happening for that, and I'm extending this not only for cigarettes, but also tobacco, but also for drugs. I'm sure you are aware of it, that this situation has gone to the school levels also, and in many countries the drugs are available outside the school campuses. And it's a scary moment. So we have to really educate the kids of what is right and what is wrong. That's extremely important, I would say. So I think peace lies that you need to protect your family from all these situations which you see around. And you need to connect with those society people who are working against their campaigns, because even if the government is going to increase taxes for this and make these products more expensive, still you find people are going to buy it. So where is it going to stop? If fathers have been smoking in the past and they haven't stopped till now, how do you expect the son to stop? And I see a lot of women audience also nowadays smoking. Initially, few years back, it was not an acceptable norm that women can smoke. But I see even in India right now that women can smoke and they smoke publicly. It's an accepted norm. It's a practice. So obviously I would say that yes, you got to practice. There is an established norm that you want to smoke, but I think the wisdom lies there, how much you would like to do and how much does it affect your body. So even if you do so many campaigns, and even if you're going to put up clauses, whenever you see a movie, it's written down in India, cigarette smoking is injurious to health, right? And the hero lights the cigarette. It's written. So are we going to follow it? So I think what is important is that education to come from your informal level, from your parents' side. That's the only way that's going to work out. And educating the kids. And I think I can comfortably take Asian families into it, including India and other countries also, because we are a protective kind of families, right? And we should talk openly to our kids about do's and don'ts and rights and wrongness of situation rather than avoiding it. Because if you don't talk, they have access to outsiders who will talk to them. And what they talk, we don't know. So it is better we start giving education rather than feeling shy about a topic. We should upfront and talk about the topic with them in such a way that when they talk with people outside, they have an opinion to share. And that opinion should reflect their wisdom, which they borrowed from their parents. Nothing less than that would really work out in this kind of situation. Thank you. Stay blessed.